everybody. Max Ball here for our podcast. And Joanna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you, Max?
Doing good, doing good. What,
Good.
anything on your mind you want to talk about today?
I really want to talk about personalization today. There
Ooh,
are a couple pet peeves of mine when calling into a contact center. And one of them is calling in and hearing that the please listen carefully, our options have changed. I think my
oh,
mind melts every time I
oh.
hear that. When you call the same organization month after month, year after year, and it's the same, please listen carefully, our options have changed.
I, yeah, I don't know whoever thought
Yeah,
that was the right thing for your brand,
I
but
know. I know. And
so
then
that's,
the next pet peeve of mine is entering in account information in the IVR to get
mm-hmm,
information, you get
mm-hmm.
transferred to an agent, and you're asked for that exact same information. I'm like, come on, fix
Yeah,
this.
repeating information is the worst. Hey, I've got a real quick personalization story that I think really brought home. It's so simple, but it really brings it home. So let me talk about my personal personalization experience.
Awesome.
I'm frequent flyer on American Airlines, and not that I ever call American Airlines these days, but someday we'll get to do that again. And when I call American Airlines, let's say I have a flight tomorrow, uh, I don't just get the menu. I'm calling from my cell phone. They know that's me. That's not hard to do. And it's when they answer, it says, "Hello, Jay." And I'm not going to get into why they think my name is Jay. That's a whole. Always go by your first name. Don't go by your middle name. That's the only advice I'll give. "Hello, Jay. I see you're flying tomorrow. Is that why you're calling?" Duh. 85%, I don't know the exact stats, but I'd be willing to bet 85% of the time when someone has a flight the next day, that's why they're calling. So instead of everything you just described, who are you, put in your account number, and then I go to the agent and I got to do it all over again, they know exactly who I am. They know exactly why I'm calling. And then when the agent gets that call, they're going to get the information that I have a flight tomorrow.
Yes. And that seems so easy. Doesn't that seem easy and
It's
logical?
Yes, yes, and every business has stuff like that they could be doing, right? I'm
Yes.
calling a doctor's office and I have an appointment tomorrow. It's an exact analog. I mean, just literally.
Exactly. And I think that these really are table stakes these days. These are customer expectations. And in fact, I pulled down a
I I,
report.
I hope they're table stakes. I don't know that they're table stakes, but they should be,
They
please,
should
right?
be table stakes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I pulled down a report recently from the Northridge Group, a consulting group on the state
Hmm.
of customer service experience in 2020. So very relevant, very recent. And there were some interesting statistics that I read about IVRs and calling into organizations that 67% of customers have difficulty navigating the IVR and getting to a live person. In the year 2020, especially in the year
Oh
2020,
boy.
we should not be putting customers through IVR jail. If they need to reach a customer or if they need to reach an agent, it should be easy to do. They should be able to press 0 and get to an agent or say agent and get to an agent. It blows my mind in this age how many IVRs still keep that customer there and
Locked.
push them through
Yeah.
those options.
I was an IVR guy in the 90s. I worked for a couple different IVR
Yeah.
companies, and there were, I'm old enough that I was doing this before there was an internet, and I, it was inexcusable. But at least I understand the instinct then of, well, we want him to self. He just wants to know where the nearest branch is. I can do that in the IVR, and okay, uh, but you know, companies were so focused on completion rates in the IVR and the cost savings there. You're so spot on. Customer sat just went completely out the window. And when I told people what I did for a living, they hated me.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very short-sighted. The
It
the
is.
thought of let's save a few dollars or a few pennies here, but in the long term, you're jeopardizing your customer loyalty. You're jeopardizing revenue because customers get frustrated and they leave your brand. Customers are willing to pay more for a brand that offers a better experience. In this day and age, IVR jail should not be a thing. It was in the 90s,
Absolutely
and
not.
I'm right there with you, Max. I have been guilty of creating IVR experiences that were less than ideal for the customer, but that's no longer acceptable. The other statistic I read is that still 60% of customers are asked to repeat information over and over again. And again, I
Oh,
think that this is inexcusable these days. What are your
yeah.
thoughts on that?
I'm going to pick up on the these days. 10 years ago, I worked for a vendor on premises based contact center equipment, and a good, the something that would do as simple an experience as what I described. If you're connecting to a Siebel CRM system, that's two or three developers locked in a closet for 6 months just to do the most basic stuff. And it's different now. There's so many pre-built integrations, or the APIs are so much more powerful and straightforward and better documented. It's making this stuff happen is so much easier. It's not a dark science anymore, and we're losing our excuses to not deliver that kind of experience.
I completely agree with you. These days and age, in this day and age, those integrations should be much more simple. You can deploy those integrations much more quickly, and it's imperative to your business and your brand to make it easier for the customers. And I think that that's really the measurement here is how easy is it to do business with you. And so as
I
you think about that, go ahead, Max.
No, no, go ahead, finish.
And so as you think about that, personalization is just one of those pieces that should be basic table stakes, that should be where you're focused. And how do you integrate your systems all together to create this ecosystem that enables your customer to do business with you more readily?
I want to take a couple threads of what you said and turn it into a question for you. You talked about saving a few pennies, the short-sighted savings, and the common stat I throw out there, and it's not exact numbers, but self-service in the IVR is 25 cents. With an agent, it's $2.50, $5. There's a reason people create IVR jails. How do you build a business case for management that forces them to take that step back and say, okay, yeah, this is penny wise, pound foolish. Here's how we talk about this. I mean, you and I can talk about it's better for customers, but how do you get management to buy off on that and put in the extra money it takes? Especially a company, let's say today, that's been really hit with COVID and has got some financial challenges.
And I really think it's taking a look at your net promoter scores, your customer effort
Mm,
scores. Customer effort score is so powerful. Customers expect it to be easy. And if you're surveying your customers on a regular basis, if you're looking at other areas where you can identify customer friction, and that could be out on your social channels, that could be just what you're hearing within your contact center and utilizing analytics to really listen to the customer. Those points of friction are detracting from your overall bottom line. It's taking revenue away from you. And so that's
mm,
really how you build the business case. It's not looking myopically at the contact center alone. It's looking at the contact center as an enabler to drive revenue and really increase the overall customer experience for your brand. And so look beyond the walls of the contact center and look at other areas that could be negatively impacted. Yes, you may be saving a dollar here and a dollar there, but you've got to be strategic on where you should save, where you can save. And personalization is going to enable you to save. It's going to enable you to save by driving down handle time by not repeating some of those processes and
Yeah.
some of that information gathering that can be done in the IVR. But those customers have to get to the agents so that the agents can personalize that experience even more and utilize the data that's at their fingertips to drive additional revenue, to drive additional stickiness of your brand, which ultimately is going to propel your brand further in the marketplace.
Okay. 3 easy things I could do to start on the path to personalization. How's
Is
that
that a
for putting you
question,
on the
Matt?
spot? Yes, yes. Oh, wait, maybe okay, I'll come up with one. First one is pretty simple, is do you have a CRM integration so that when I call American Airlines, they're able to go take my phone number, go to the CRM system and know who I am?
And that's a great point. It's great to highlight that. Even if you do not have a CRM, where's your customer database at? Can you
True.
integrate with that? So start taking a look at where you might think there's blockers that are enabling your personalization and start brainstorming on how do I get that information? I think companies are very data rich, but don't necessarily know how to utilize it. So,
That's a great point. And it could be as simple, a step one could be as simple as I've got this really old ERP system. It's almost impossible to integrate to, but every day I could download a comma separated variable file and I could just go hit that. And, is
yeah,
it perfect? No, but is that a whole lot better than nothing? Yes.
yes, it's all about baby steps, right? It's
Yes.
making those steps forward and always thinking about how can we push ourselves a little bit more today? How can we improve that customer experience a little bit more today? So think beyond even your CRM and all of those various different data points that you have within your organization. So you mentioned ERP Max. And so what can you do within your ERP to get data that could provide some additional personalization? It's not just about identifying the customer. It's about identifying any areas and anticipating why they're calling you. So, have they placed an order recently? Could they be contacting you about that order? Anticipate that and provide that information up front to make it easier. So, I know you asked for three, Max. I think we've talked about a lot of different
8.
areas here. It's taking a look at where your data is and how you can make that readily available and start there. I think that's going to really put you on the path for success.
I think you're right. And I think that's a great moment to close out today on. Any last thoughts, or you feel like we covered it?
I feel like we've covered it. I feel like we've covered it for sure. I'm looking forward to our next conversation.
Same here. I would pick a little bit of a nit. I think it's so huge we could spend hours and hours and hours talking and still not cover it. But I think hit we covered the intro to the concept, and I always enjoy these conversations. Thanks, Joanna.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to diving deeper on this in future podcasts for sure. Thanks, Max. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.